Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to a new episode of Questions on My Mind. And I've got back with me today the lovely Ali Mortimer. Our last episode went down so well, the Living Joyfully one. We're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about something else entirely. But before we get there, please, please, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things, because that helps me with the algorithms to get this out to more people, so that more people can be aware of all these great conversations. So today we're talking about human design, which I think is from my perspective, I don't think a lot of people know about human design yet. I don't think it's gathered that much momentum. I could be wrong. It only came across my awareness probably in the last sort of couple of years or so, and I've just sort of dabbled a little bit. But you offer human design as part of your coaching, do you?
I do. Should we start at the beginning of human design and how I see human design, how I feel human design? Should we start there? Maybe if I just
Yeah.
explain what it is in a nutshell, that might help people. Human design to me has been around helping me understand my energies. When I started to understand the laws of vibration, the laws of attraction, the laws of energies, when I first read The Secret, 10 years ago, when somebody gave me the first book, prior to which, by the way, I was a complete cynic for all of this stuff. I just didn't believe in it. I was very much here now, practical, logical. Someone gave me The Secret and I started to, oh heavens, why was I not been told this before? Could this be really true? And I allowed my curiosity to almost like take me along on a path that has radically changed my life in the last 10 years, so that everything that you see in front of you right now is completely different to the person that I was 10 years ago, just by making this choice to see things in a very, very different way. And human design has been one of those tools that has helped me as a strategy. It's become a way of life and a way of understanding, that it helps me understand who I am. And when I say who I am, I mean it helps me understand my energy. And my energy is unique to me, like your energy is unique to you. It's based on the time that we are born and where we are born. And it's been described to me, when I look at the science of it, that has subsequently been proven, that the minute we enter the earth in this environment and this time, our bodies are imprinted with what they call neutrinos. And neutrinos are the kind of like cosmic stardust from a death of a superstar, a supernova, that they get printed onto our body, which impact the way in which our energies flow within our body. And if you understand energies, and I love the whole chakra system, the chakras being your energy centers that are throughout your body, the human design is understanding, or is a map to help you understand how your energies flow at its optimal best within your body.
Okay.
Am I making sense? Does that make sense to you? So that if you can understand how you can purify, kickstart your energy, then you can have more energy for life. You expand your aura. So we all have these wonderful auras. If we can expand our auras to be more and more pure, then we become more and more magnetic, so that we can work with the universe and the energies around us. We get to feel good. And ultimately, that's what we're all here to do. Our purpose is to live and experience joy. And therefore, that joy comes from within us. And if we can create that joyful energy within us, obviously, I'm all about the joy. That is then how we can show up in the world. There's a quote that I saw the other day, which I love, and I'll say it right now. It was as I was handed the book The Secret, I started to understand more about energies and vibration. And on that path, I started to understand the power that words had for me. And one of the simplest explanations that I found to understand energy in the way that I was living in a very, very masculine world was your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and the way you make others feel is your trademark. And that last bit was the bit that really underlined how important your energy is, because our energy dictates how others perceive us more than what we say, more than what we do. The energy when you're with someone, who says it, radiators or drains? People can either be a radiator or a drain. You're either going to want to be around them because they're like a lovely warm radiator that you want to tap into their energy, or they're going to make you feel really drained. So this question of what is my energy and how do I want to show up in the world so that others feel good around me is a choice every single day to show up in my best energy. And human design has helped me understand myself more so that I can be in that good energy so that I can help others feel good too. So it's a unique map to understanding yourself. It's helped me with the way I am, and I look after my own physical health. It's helped me understand and be a better parent to my two boys, because not only do I understand mine, but I've also created charts for them. It has improved, I cannot tell you, the relationship with my husband, because we have radically different charts. So rather than being at this conflict to try and be the same, or wanting each other to be the same as us, we've recognized that we've got completely different charts. So now we know how to communicate with each other. We know what each other needs in order to feel loved, to feel respected. I do a human design chart for every single one of my clients. I do a human design chart for the people that I work with so that I can understand how I can work with them so that we can get the best out of every single relationship, whether that's a personal, private one, intimate one, whether it's a professional one. It is a map. If you ever wanted a map to understanding yourself, understanding your children, understanding your partner, to me, human design is that one. It's not the same as, any one of the ones that I used to do when I was working in a very corporate role.
Yeah,
I
they're
can't
more
remember.
like
I think I was red and
personality.
blue. Red
Yeah,
personality traits, red, blue, green, and yellow, and we all have an element of each one. And I think I was mainly blue and red. I can't even remember what they were, but they were all too samey. There are so many different unique ways because there's so many different layers. And maybe we go through the layers and what all of those different ones mean. This is your podcast, the questions on your mind. What questions are on your mind? And I'll answer your questions. But does that answer your first one in understanding
yeah.
what
In
human
what?
design is?
So it's a if I try and play that back,
Yep.
it's almost like a blueprint of our energetic can't think of the word, energetic
Energetic
frequency.
DNA. Yeah, I've actually, that's the perfect example, the perfect words. I often say to people, it's the blueprint to understanding your energetic DNA.
Okay. So I would use it to have awareness and understanding about everything that I am and how I respond to the world, and therefore how I can. I guess though it's set, isn't it? You can't, like, if you look at your chart, like I have done, and we might delve into that at some point, and you don't like what you see, how do you work with that? Because it is what it is. Yes.
Yeah, so it is set in a way, but I always believe that anything that is set in stone, you can shift to see your perspective from a different side. If I was to hold up with you like a pound coin, which is set in metal, and I was to look at one side and you were to look at the other side, I would see the head and you'd see the tail. But when neither of us are wrong,
Mm.
it's just that we're seeing it from a different perspective, the same as with your human design. So yes, it is set and defined based on your time and location of birth. There's no right chart, there's no wrong chart, there's no better chart than anybody else's chart. There is just a chart that you get to use, what resonates with you, what makes you feel good. And anything that doesn't make you feel good, you can just leave it aside. Or in a lot of cases, when I have people who say that they're really resisting, when we've started to work through why they're resisting, I can help them see it from that different perspective so that they can use it, so they can amplify it, so that they can be better. I think in any personal development that I've worked with anyone is often that they fear changing because they are going to change themselves by knowing this, and they fear loss, they fear ridicule, they fear being judged. the fear of loss. It can be very frightening when you start to grow in yourself. What if people don't like me when I've grown and I've changed? I am completely different to the person that I was 10 years ago. And yet the people who love me are still with me. Some of them think I'm bonkers. My children think I'm crazy, but they still love me because I'm me.
Yeah.
You get to see it from a different perspective.
So how can we bring this to life a little bit more so that, because it's still feeling a little bit abstract. So,
Yeah.
um, and maybe we do that by um, looking at my chart. I don't know, but well, let's start with the five different main types.
Yeah, there are five different types. Well, there's a four, one of which is kind of a nuance of another. So the most common energy type is a generator or generator at the core. So we've got the generators and the manifesting generators. These have a sacral defined. So it's tricky to talk about this for people who don't understand their human design. So what I
Yeah,
would say to anyone who's listening into this, who's intrigued to understand more, it might be better if they get their chart and download their chart first. I have a free resource on my website which we can put in the notes so that people can press pause right now, go and create their chart,
yeah,
and then maybe come back in and listen. And I think that might be really helpful for them to understand. So they're going to find out whether they're a generator, a manifesting generator, projector, manifestor, or a reflector. The majority of the population fall into the category of generator and manifesting generator, 70% of the population. That's who we are. Generators have our sacral defined. So when you're looking at your chart, you will see that there's a square in the middle, and that is your life force energy. It's the energy of creation, of life force. It's your gut feeling. It's a real powerful center that only the generators and the manifesting generators have. And I always liken generators and manifesting generators to being like the Duracell bunnies, generators in particular. As long as we are doing what we love, we can keep going for a long time. We are fueling our own energy. We've got this sacral energy that we can kickstart ourselves. Manifesting generators have this defined sacral energy as well, but they also have it connected to their throat through different channels. And what this can mean is that they have this life force energy of keeping on going, but they also may feel when they're moving that they may want to stop or see something else. So I liken them to a bit like the bee. When you watch bees in the garden, and we've got quite a few now coming just, as we move into spring, they're in one flower and then they move to the next flower, and then they might stay there for a long time, and then they'll dart to the next one and then move. And it makes no sense to the order in which they're doing things or how long they stay in that particular flower. But when you look up and you look out at the bigger scheme of things, it's all about understanding pollination. I'm going to give you a very classic example. I have two sons. My eldest son is a generator. He is here to master. He's like me. We're all generators, right? So we are here to master, and we can master things that we love and want to know more on. And classic example of my son is that he will go to the golf course and he will stand there for hours swinging balls and balls and balls and balls to perfect the art of his swing until he's got it. My younger son, who's a manifesting generator, he every single summer since I've known him being a manifesting generator, he has a new hobby, a new passion. It was golf, then it was tennis, now it's paddle, now it's the gym, then it was cooking. It's like he just moves to lots of different things and he's so immersed in it when he's in it, but then he's off. And it used to drive me mad, just like, why we've spent all this money on golf clubs and now you want a tennis racket and now you want to do this. And it was like, let him this is in the grander scheme of things, maybe one day he's going to own a suite of gyms, I don't know, and
yeah,
or a health and fitness guru, I don't know, but it's about allowing him to lead and trusting in himself and showing him how he can trust in himself to know that he's had enough. I've had enough here and I'm ready to move on, and that's okay, rather than being magpie syndrome and going, oh my goodness. And this is a not self theme of a manifesting generator. They can fall in the trap of, I'm in this flower and I'm really loving it, but oh look, if I look up and out, there's a whole load of bees on that flower, I better go, or I should go. It's about not following the shoulds. It's about saying, but I'm not done here yet. I'll go there when I'm ready. Do I really want to go there? So manifesting generators and generators, we can keep going all the time as long as we do what we love. Projectors, the second energy type, 20% of the population. My husband is a projector, and this is where we wildly used to almost like clash because we are so very different. Projectors I often refer to as being like the lighthouses. They are there to oversee life, to help us improve. It used to drive me potty. He would come in and say, "Why are you doing it that way? You could do it this way, this way, this way, and it would be better." And I was like, "Oh, just leave me alone." But the lighthouse is there to say, watch that rock, go round this headland, go that way, keep safe. They have this ability to see how to improve things. That's what the lighthouse does. But also, like the lighthouse, they don't have a defined sacral. So they don't always have this full on energy all the time. If you think about the way that the lighthouse works, it shines a light and then it goes dark, and it shines a light and then it goes dark.
Yeah.
And that's the way in which the projectors have to recognize that that's the way that their energy is going to have the most impact. Shine your light, allow yourself to rest. Shine your light, allowing yourself to rest. And every single person, I believe, is unique. So my husband, he can do so much in a short space of time. It's like the tortoise and the hare. He will cover a lot of distance in a short space of time, and then he'll need to rest or pull back from what he's doing. And that could be active rest. I often see him like mowing the lawn and he's chuntering away to himself, but that's him pulling away from his work in order to go back and be able to shine that bright light. A lot of projectors, and my husband included, have been conditioned to being like generators, always, always on, and wondering why they're so overwhelmed and so exhausted all the time. It's because that they haven't allowed themselves to fully pull back and take that rest. Because also in that rest period, it's very important for them that they allow the energies of others that they've taken on through their sacral, which is open and undefined. They're susceptible to the buzz of others, to be able to step back and let that go. They're holding on to everybody else's energies and they feel heavy. So not only are they trying to improve and shine a light, but they feel sluggish and heavy because they have not yet released the energies of other people. So those are your projectors. Then manifestors. So manifestors are even more rare. They're around about 8% of the population. Manifestors, I love to say that they are almost like the train drivers. They are the kickstarters. They are the ones that power us up. So if we think about the generators, we're like the worker bees getting everything done. You've got the projectors who are slightly higher level in terms of how we can improve things on the ground. Then we have the manifestors who don't necessarily see downwards. I almost like see them seeing upwards. These are the people who have this incredible sight or gift of sight for what others can't yet see. It's the divine channeling. We think of Henry Ford, who thought up the automobile before we even knew what an automobile was. The Wright brothers, before we even knew that we could fly. They have these ideas of how can we improve the world on a bigger scale that is not yet known or manifested in this reality. It's like they have this vision of sight. And they're often the ones who may feel they're misunderstood because they're trying to explain something that nobody else can. So when I speak and work with manifestors, who I love to work with because they are literally, as I say, like these train drivers, I'm like, get on your train, you know where you're going, you know what you want to create, off you go. Off you go. And if people don't want to jump on the train with you, that's okay. Let them cheer you on to let you go, but just tell them where you're going and why you're going there and allow yourself to go.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we're all very different. And then the final one are the reflectors, which are incredibly rare, about 1% of the population. They are the reflectors. The reflectors being they have no centers defined when you look at their human design chart. They are here literally to absorb the energies of everyone around them and play it back. They mirror back what they're feeling, what they're seeing to help others improve. They are very, very rare. So in a nutshell, those are your 4 key types, with obviously the generator, manifestor, generator slipping into one.
Okay. But we all want to be kind of different and well, I'll speak for myself. I would like to be different and unique, but I'm a generator, which is like 70% of the population.
You
So,
are unique by the very virtue of the fact that you are you.
right. So how am I unique if I'm a generator though? And 70%
Well,
of the population are generators.
Okay, but well, there's two different concepts here. There's always the feeling that you are you, that you are you. There is no one else unless you've got a biologically identical twin. You are still rare and unique as an individual. And even if you are a biologically individual twin, you're still going to be different because you're a different entity. But when it comes to human design, there's different layers. So that's our top level. So as you work down underneath each one of those, you're going to be, what's the word? Distinguished or slightly different. Every single one has a slightly different nuance. So you then have your authority. Your authority is the way in which you make decisions. So maybe I'll just backtrack a bit so that people can understand. It's really important. I always say to people when they're looking at their human design, before you dive any deeper, you want to master your energy type first before you go any deeper into your human design. Otherwise, it's not going to have the maximum effect. It's almost like pouring water, like pouring energy through your body. If you're trying to clear up some of the energies within you and your energy centers without this pouring through you, it's a bit stickier. So you want to almost like fill yourself up with your energy type energy. So you've got energy flowing, and then you can start to cleanse up each of your different chakras.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, if do you remember when we were kids, when we were little? I don't know if you used to have them. I have this distinct memory of being in the bath with almost like these, or maybe I gave them to the boys. I can't remember. They had like wheels on, like water wheels. Do you know what I mean? The water paddle wheels. Oh God, what do you call them? Can't remember water mills. Like water
Oh,
mills.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, water mills.
I didn't
And you used
have
to have
them, but yeah.
in the bath or in the, you see them on the side of buildings and a lot in France. I remember seeing them a lot in France. But the boys used to have like these water wheels that used to turn in the bath, and they would pour the water through the top, and each of the wheels would then start spinning as the water hit them. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
describe now? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it's like. You can spin the wheels yourself, but actually it all happens for you if you just pour the water down through. So you want to fill yourself up with this beautiful, pure energy by living in alignment with your energy type. How do you know that you're living in alignment with your energy type? Maybe we need to go back before we can even go deeper.
Mm.
Every single energy type has their own unique guidance system, and I call this your emotional guidance system. So emotional guidance system is something I took from Esther Hicks, this understanding of the emotional guidance system. We're always being told whether we're on the right path or off the path of our truth or living in alignment with ourselves. If you're feeling good, you're in alignment. If you're not feeling good, you're not in alignment. There's something that you need to recognize that's off. In human design, every single one of the energy types has a signature theme and a not self theme. And it's almost like your signature theme tune. That's how I like to see it. So, as generators and manifesting generators, our theme tune is satisfaction. And it's this, to me, and how I see that is that I'm full up with life. Life is good. I'm feasting on life. I've been to the feast of life and I feel really, really good. I can have whatever I want. I'm taking every single piece that I want. My not self theme as a generator is frustration. Same for you. If I get to the feast of life and there's no shrimp, but I want shrimp, I'm frustrated that there's no shrimp and no one's getting me any shrimp, or I'm denying myself going to have my second piece of chocolate cake, so I'm frustrated that I can't have that second piece. I'm frustrated. So then I know, okay, well, how do I get back into living in alignment with being satisfaction? So those two themes can help you understand whether you're living in alignment with your generator or your manifesting generator energy type. Each one has the same. So projectors, the signature theme is success. I'm winning. Everything feels good. When you're not living in alignment with your projector energy type, it's often one of bitterness. I can feel my husband's bitterness and resentfulness sometimes coming in. And often it's because he needs someone to validate him. Projectors often need a validation. They need to be seen. They are this lighthouse. They want to be seen. So I've learned that if I'm feeling that from him, then I will go and say, well done, the stripes on the lawn are magical. Well done, you did a really great job today. Thank you for doing that.
Couldn't
He
you
has to
argue that
go on.
that's just stereotype, though? Like, that's just.
Well, of course, I mean, it's all, is it stereotypical? Stereotypical for a man? I don't know. It is not stereotyping in a way that I choose to see it. It's very much more, you get to choose this if you want, and you get to choose to use it if you wish. But understanding this has brought me so much peace and joy, and understanding my husband has also helped me understand him. Doesn't take doesn't take me any effort at all to just go and say, that's great, well done, I see you, and then he feels good.
Yeah.
So
I have to see what my husband's chart is.
yeah, just to help
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Manifestors, it's about peace and anger. Peace, yes, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm here, I'm driving the train, and there are people cheering me on, and there are people on the train, or angry that I'm being held back, that I can't do it, that they don't understand what I'm doing. And for the reflectors, it's about surprise and delight and wonder. Oh my goodness, this feels amazing. This looks amazing. And disappointment being their not self theme. So there's different ways of understanding, am I living in alignment? Those are your guidance system. Am I living? That's when you know that the water's coming down and through your energy mills or water mills or whatever you want to call them, so that you can then amplify and purify even more. So your question to me was, how are we all unique? So understanding your generator energy is the most important thing that you do. Sort of generator energy, your energy type first, pour that water in. Then we have your authority. Your authority and your strategy is how you make decisions. And again, this is just another level of understanding your uniqueness. So within your generator energy of being 70%, you're an emotional authority. I'm a sacral authority as a generator. So that differentiates us. So all generators, again, every single energy type has a different strategy. So generators is to respond. Ours is to respond. We respond to life. We don't need to know the full path. We just need to respond what is either being presented to us, or if we're being faced with a big decision, we get to ask ourselves questions to which we respond to help us go forward. And we use that in conjunction with our authority to know the answer. So as generators, we're going to use our guts to make that decision. You have an emotional authority, so it's not about, I will know the truth in the moment because I've got pure sacral. So I can ask myself a question to respond to. And as long as I keep asking the questions until I get this guttural response of yes or no, uh-huh, nuh-uh, I'm going to know what I want to do. As an emotional authority, you're slightly different. You will still follow your sacral gut feeling, but you have to ride your waves of emotion before you can access the truth of your gut. It's understanding emotional intelligence at its purest level. If you're highly emotional, you cannot access your intelligence in your brain or in your body, wherever it is. It's almost like you've clouded yourself with this fog of emotion. So you have to work either with your emotions or learn to ride them so that they've gone, so that then you can access the intelligence, hear the answers from deep within you. So it may be for you, I can't, hang on a second, I'm just going to have a look at your chart.
And while you're doing
You,
that, I'm going to try and, because I think people might be, it is quite complex, I
yeah,
think, anyway, looking at it, and the language that's used as well can sometimes, it might be me taking the language literally. And so
yeah,
therefore, when
do,
you're talking about some of the other energies, I feel like, but I would like to have success, or I would like to. So why is that the domain of the projectors or whatever? So that there's so many things coming up as
go
you're
on.
talking. But to try and play some of that back.
Yeah.
So yes, you can be a generator, and there are lots of generators. Basically, whatever your energetic signature is,
Yep.
the rest of the chart will be specific to you.
Yes, that's
There
right.
will be no two charts that are the same
Well,
in
there
their
will be,
entirety. I mean,
unless you were born in the same hospital at exactly the same minute as somebody else.
right. Okay. Interesting.
So it's possible.
So there
It's
could be
possible.
others, or likely there are others,
Yeah,
that have the exact same.
it's possible.
Interesting. Those poor
So
people.
I'm just thinking about, when my son was born at, 2:30 in the morning on the 21st of December 2007. It's like, was there anybody who was born at exactly the same time? I mean, my eldest son was born not breathing. So what time of birth was it? The time that he came out of the birth canal or the time that he started breathing?
Mm,
And how many other people in, Jimmy's in Leeds were born at exactly that same time? Because I tell you, most of the doctors were in my room at that point in time.
yeah, yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, it is possible that you could have a similar chart or the same chart as somebody else.
Okay.
But on a broad spectrum, they are all very, very different and different layers all the way through from understanding your energy type to understanding your authority to understanding every single chakra. And in human design, there are 9 chakras in our human design chart. In the Kundalini chakras, it's 7 down the middle. We have 9 in human design, and then each one of those is going to be different based on the channels and the gates that come out of each of those. And I like to think of those as the valves. So if we're thinking about the energy centers or your chakras as those energy centers or those water wheels, they're either defined or undefined. So you can either start your own energy and you can have consistent energy in that you can kickstart yourself, a bit like a Catherine wheel, you can spark it yourself. Or if it's undefined, then you're going to need to be around others in order to kickstart that energy. But then you need to squeeze out that water or squeeze out that energy that you've taken on by other people to keep it pure and aligned to you. Then you've got these valves that open and help flow the energy between each one of those individual energy centers. So that's again taking you to a different level. So I look at your chart and you've got different channels and gates, probably to somebody else who's also a generator
Okay.
with an emotional authority. And then we haven't even touched on profile lines. I mean, it's an incredibly in-depth
Yeah.
conversation to have.
So maybe we can bring it to life by looking
Go
at
on.
my chart then.
Yeah, happy to do that. If
Um,
you want to, or we can look at mine. I don't mind whichever way you want to do it, whatever you feel the most comfortable doing.
um, yeah, let's go for it. Let's see how deep. Um, if it goes too deep, then I'll pull back. But yeah. Um, so I'm a generator,
Yes.
and my inner authority is to respond. Is that
No, your strategy is to
my
respond.
strategy is to respond?
Yeah, your strategy is to respond. Your authority is emotional. So with your solar plexus defined.
Okay. So to respond, you were saying that's how you make decisions.
Yes. Making decisions with your strategy and your authority. That is how you can use it to make decisions. Yes.
Okay. But for me, um, I have to ride the emotional wave, you say, before I can be clear on my decision. Is that
Yeah,
what?
that's right. So when we look at the emotional authority, it's recognizing that the emotional authority means that you have a defined solar plexus, to which I think, again, I think it's 70%, if I remember rightly, 70% of the population have an emotional authority. It's the most common authority to have.
Okay.
And this just means that you won't always know. You may do, but in the majority of cases, you may not know the truth in the moment. It's about understanding truth over time. So you also have your sacral defined, obviously being a generator. So the true decision is going to come from your gut, your sacral, not your mind. A lot of people think you make decisions from your mind, but that's just conditioning and that's social conditioning. Actually, it's all about cavemen. We're going to make decisions from our emotions, from our gut, which is our sacral, from our spleen, which is intuition. Some people have it from their soul, their solar, from their G center, from this ego projected. If you're a reflector, it's about you're going to have to take some time because you've got to cleanse all of the energies of everybody else. But it's never really about from your mind unless you're a pure mental. I've done one chart when it was from your mind, but you have to wait a lunar cycle for that. But going back to your question, for anyone who has an emotional authority, it's about riding and understanding your waves of emotion so that you find the calmness. And in the calmness of riding your emotional wave, you can access the defined center that's going to give you the answers that you're looking for. So in your case, it will be your sacral. You have two waves. So you've got one channel and one gate. So this is just, and they each have slightly different things. And in your chart, it will explain what types of emotions those can be. So they can be individual waves of passion, they can be tribal waves. So that each of these different waves, when you dig deep into your design, have a different feeling. So it could be the one that's like a heartbeat that's going to go up and down. So you might feel really high or really low. It's just bringing awareness. It's bringing the principles of mindfulness to your human design to say, am I feeling emotional right now? Am I on a massive high or on a massive low? And in which case, I need to ride these waves rather than making a decision on a massive high or a massive low. I'm just going to allow myself to feel these feelings because I have the capacity to do so. And when I find the calm, I'll know the answers from what my gut is telling me. But as I alluded to earlier, it's just like these emotions can distort our ability to access the truth that come from deep within us. This is emotional intelligence. It's about giving yourself the space, the patience, and the time to say, this is the decision I have to make, but can I allow myself a 24-hour period, 48-hour period, or until I've accessed that calm? So when people come to me with an emotional authority, I just ask them to start to practice responding when somebody is making them force a decision. Just say, can you give me 24 hours? Can you give me an hour? So that you can go and you can ride those emotional waves rather than just being caught up in the emotion of the decision itself or the answer of the decision and say, is this really what I want? Can I access my individual knowing, whether that's my sacral knowing, my sacral yes, or my splenic intuition, or my soul G center pull? Can I allow myself to just find calm and peace within me to access it properly rather than allowing my emotions to really drive it or distort the answer? Because ultimately what can happen is that for you, when we look at your chart, if you make a decision in a heightened state of emotion, you could end up looking back later feeling very frustrated, i.e. you're not self-themed, that I made the wrong decision by not accessing my sacral because I did it in the heightened state of a high or a heightened state or a deepened state of a low.
Yeah, that's probably been how I've been living most of my life. But
You knew no different. That's okay. Now you know. It's about saying, give me 5 minutes. I'm just going to go for a walk around the block. Can you give me 24 hours? I need to access it. I need to do some journaling on it. I need to feel it. I mean, when do you need to answer somebody within like that moment right now? How often?
it feels like a lot of the time because life is so fast paced now, and there's so many decisions that are time bound. So when I hear you saying that, my thinking is, well, what if I ask for 24 hours and I'm still in this emotional up and down 24 hours later and I still haven't come to a decision? In fact, I might feel more pressurized that I'm now having to make a decision the next morning, and I might still be
It's a question of
emotionally.
trust. This is always a question of trust. You're going up into your head. What if I can't? What if I can't? What if I can't? What if you can? What if you just trusted yourself?
Hmm.
Can I trust that the answer is going to be revealed? Can I trust that I can regulate my emotions? Can I trust myself to know? Can I access the peace within me? Can I trust myself to access the peace within me and find that calm? Can I trust myself to give myself the time and the space to find the right decision? I think you're right. I think we're conditioned that everything has to be immediate. We have to be fast paced. Everything needs an answer now. So we feel like this. And I look at your chart and you're very open and undefined. It's like you're feeling the pressure, especially with your completely open root. You're feeling the pressure and the stress of everybody else to force you to make a decision rather than you saying, do you know what? I trust myself to make the decision at the right time. And if I haven't made a decision, I trust that that's the decision that I need to make.
Mm. That's that.
It's always a question of trust, of trusting myself.
So this decision making,
Yeah.
I assume then that that can only be for big decisions because otherwise you'd be holding everything off all your
Oh,
decisions all the time.
Well, you can. I do it with the boys at dinner time, understanding that my boys are both generators at the core. They are going to prefer to respond to a question. They're both emotional authorities, like you. And for the smaller decisions, I used to ask them, "What do you want for tea?" And they'd be like, "Oh, we don't know." But now I'm asked them the simpler questions. Would you like pasta? Would you like fish? Would you like chicken? Would you like steak? And I ask them questions for them to respond to. There's no real emotion tied up in these things, but they can access that and they can cut through that to find it. I wouldn't ask them if they were in an emotional state already, that when they were coming back from school and something bad has happened, is I allow them to ride their emotions from school, and then I will come in with a question. What would you like for supper? Would you like X, Y, and Z? And give them things to respond to. The same as for you. You're going to be responding. I'm going to be responding to life all the time. Do I want to do this podcast? Yes or no? Yes, I do. Do I want to have go for a walk this evening? Oh, not so sure. The weather's not looking so good. So it can be big or little. It doesn't matter. But for those of you who have an emotional authority, it's about what emotional state am I in? Do I need to allow myself to ride my emotions before I access my response, my true response? And it can be for everything, big and little. It's just awareness of everything. And if it's the bigger decision, perhaps the bigger the time you need to give it is maybe really the way to see it. If it's, do I want coffee or tea? Don't need to wait much time. You can probably just ride through that wave and surf straight into your sacral to find the answer.
Okay. So that's how you make decisions. So when you say to respond, is that always responding to an external stimulus?
Yeah, it can be. So you're going to an external situation. So one of the ways that I love to use it is when I'm thinking about, well, what do I want? My hopes and my dreams for the future. And I'm like, I don't know. My husband can always see like the vision. He's a visionary. He's a projector. He can see that far ahead. I used to struggle with, I just don't know what I want. I can't see it until I realized that I was a generator. I didn't need to know. I could trust myself in responding to what was given to me right then and there. So you say the external stimulus. I remember it very vividly the first time I really felt it in action. We were watching Wimbledon, the movie. I don't know if you remember the movie. It's really great. And the lead character drives along in a beautiful pale blue Porsche 356. And I was like, oh, I want one of those. And I was like, oh, my sacral just told me what I wanted. I responded to an external stimulus. I was like, oh, that's what I need to understand. So I now go, full eyes open going around my life. Do I want that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Just because that person has it, do I want it? Yes or no? Ask myself. I'm responding all the time with desire or contrast. Yes, I do. No, I don't.
That
It's the
sounds
same for you.
tiring.
Oh. Or liberating. There's always two sides. You
Yeah.
get to choose. Oh, I'm in charge of my own decisions. But then you can just say, well, I'm not bothered about that either.
So is that why when like I don't have a clear idea of like there are people who have their 5-year plans and they're going to be doing this and they're going to be doing that and they're going here and they want to achieve this by then. I've never really had that. It's kind of been as things show up, oh, I'd really love to do that. And then I'd go for it. But I feel like that
I
gen
used to feel the same way. So I remember, I've read Brian Tracy's what book is his? It's all about goal setting, isn't it? Brian Tracy's. And then there's The One Thing and Eat the Frog and all of these amazing books which talk about the importance of setting goals. I
yeah.
bet, that's just, we've talked about everybody's very, very unique. Everyone writes a book on a diet. Everybody writes a book on a strategy. There's no one way or right way of doing anything. There's no one way of looking after your health. There's no one way of creating a business. There's no one way of setting goals. And what I've understood is that when I can find my way that isn't forced, that makes me feel good. So it liberated me from having to create this 5-year plan like you talk about. I used to I felt like I had to do that. 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. I was like, oh God, I have to. I don't want to. Okay, I'm not going to. But what I choose to do now is I set a definition or a context for my life or my year, and that's the energy to which I attune to. And then I allow myself to respond to life to say, is that in alignment with what I want to create and the energy that I want to live in? So I respond to it. I don't do goals anymore. But some people love them, and there's no right way or wrong way. They love it. If it makes them feel good, if it lights them up as a generator, let them.
Okay.
So if it doesn't feel good to you, can you let it go? And then ask yourself the question, if I don't want to set goals, what do I want to do? Can I go out and see that, go and have a look and see what other people are doing? And do I want to do it that way?
Yeah, because otherwise it sounds like if you don't have goals, you could just be aimlessly sort of just meandering through life and not really achieving
Well,
much.
the goal thing to me is like a goal are usually, I mean, okay, SMART goals. The reason why I no longer resonate with SMART goals is because of the T at the end. What is it? It's specific, measurable, accountable.
Time bound is the tip.
Yeah, I don't like the time bound, because if I set a goal, then and I say I want to, okay, here we go. I want to have a baby by the time I'm 30. What happens if I wanted to have a baby before then? Am I limiting myself to having it done by that point in time?
Yeah.
I don't like the limitation of a time. So if I can just allow myself to have an aspiration, I prefer that. I much prefer to bring it into the attention. Goals very much about future driven. I'm more about living in the now. My practice as a mindfulness coach and tutor and living mindfully every single day is I get to choose everything in the moment. I get to choose success now. I get to choose happiness now. I get to choose joy now. I get to choose health now. And I'm doing that and creating that with intention now. I'm not going to wait until I've lost 10 pounds. I'm not going to wait until I've got a million followers. I'm not going to wait until I've reached my goal in order to feel something. It was Danielle de la Porte's Firestarter sessions that taught me that. It was like, why are we denying ourselves to have and achieve a goal, to feel something? Why can't we just feel it now? So I stopped, I've ripped up and threw all those books away. I was like, I'm no longer aligned to goals. I'm going to set the intention to feel this now. Create this now, live this now, experience this now. And the more I appreciated that, the more I started to attract everything that I wanted into my life, because I was living in the energetic state of it. Human design was just another tool to help me amplify, solidify, purify the energy of what I wanted to feel now by understanding how my energies work through my body. That's not making me feel good. How do I clear it? That's coming from my mind. That's coming from my throat. That's coming from here. Clear, 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 clear. Live in it now.
Okay.
I love our conversations. You just get me to speak whatever I want to say.
So, but in my chart,
Yes.
and this is probably why I struggle a lot, there's a lot of gates that talk about fears.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a playbook done, and I don't know if it can be seen. This is not done by you, by a lady
No,
called Sue Jones or Sue Miranda Jones. This playbook, which is supposed to be my human design Bible, I don't know if anyone can see it, but all about me. And there's a bit in there that talks about I live in emotional turbulence or something. It's like, that's great, isn't it? Who wants to live in emotional turbulence? But there does seem to be a lot of that kind of emotional stuff in my chart, emotions, fears, all of that. And it just feels that I feel like my chart feels very heavy emotionally,
I have
which
a few things to say on that.
sucks.
Do you know, one of the biggest things that I say with anybody when I share their chart with them, when I give them their interpretation, I just say, if it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't feel good, let it go. Let
Okay.
it go. This is meant to support you, not to make you feel heavy. This isn't meant to limit you in any way. It's about bringing mindfulness, as in awareness, to how your chart can help you. When I look at your chart, you've only got 3 defined centers. You are living with a lot of open and undefined centers, which does mean that you're very susceptible. I talk about undefined centers being like sponges. I think I alluded to it earlier, but energy centers that are undefined are like sponges that you put in the bath. When you put a sponge in the bath, it will absorb all of the water and it feels heavy.
Yeah.
In order for it to serve its purpose, the sponge needs to be squeezed of all of the water, so it's just left with its own pure energy left. That's the same with our energy centers that are undefined. All of them can have incredible gifts. I have a lot of undefined centers as well. So when we look at the open and undefined crown, you have this, the one that's pointing up. This is our third eye. This means that yes, you are susceptible to being potentially overstimulated by everything that's around us. I see that as a gift to say, I have an open channel to the divine. I have an open channel to inspiration. As long as I'm saying that's for me, that's not for me, I'm responding to the inspiration that's being given to me using my strategy to respond. Not for me, not for me, not for me. Ooh, for me. Let me bring that down into my mind and work out how I want to create that. My mind is the energy center of opinion, logic, strategy. Yours is undefined, mine is defined. So it's highly unlikely that you will ever get to 100% certainty because you have this open mind. Again, you're going to be absorbing all of the opinions, all of the beliefs, all of the ideas of people around you. You have to squeeze your sponge. Is that my thought? Is that my belief? Is that my opinion? Yes or no? Use your sacral to respond. If it's not that, what is it? Use your brain to create the strategies to support the sacral decisions that you are making. I have a very open solar plexus. You have a defined one. I see my open solar plexus as an absolute gift. Yes, it means I absorb absolutely everybody's energies and feelings and emotions. And before I knew about my human design chart, that used to make me feel very, very heavy because I would feel the feelings that my boys would feel. I would feel the feelings of my husband that they would bring in. Now I know it's not mine. I bring them in, I feel them, and then I say, how can I support them? It's not my feeling. I'm not feeling sad, but they are. How can I support them? Same with fear. I have an undefined spleen. I can feel everybody's fear. I used to make it my own. I now know it's not mine. I release it. I let it go. I have an open and undefined root. So do you. I feel everybody's stresses and everybody's pressures, but I see these as incredible gifts for me as a coach because I can see and feel and sense everybody else's energies so that I can help them clear their energy. So it
Sorry,
can
what
be
are my
heavy.
undefined centers again?
Your defined centers, you have
Undefined.
oh, so pretty much everything is undefined apart from, hang on a second, I'm just coming back to your chart. Where is it? So you have a defined G center. So the energy of love and direction, beauty, purpose, and self-identity. So you have a strong sense of self. Just because it's defined doesn't mean to say that you can't be conditioned, but it's about knowing that you have the capacity to know what that is for yourself. It's this magnetic monopole. You have a defined sacral, so life force energy. As long as you're doing what you love, you are able to generate enough energy for your life to do everything that you want to. And you have a defined solar plexus, so you have the capacity to ride intense emotional waves and bring a lot of emotional calm to any situation. All of your other centers are open or undefined. So you have your two top and bottom. So you've got an open, which means you have no gates, no channels. You're completely open. So you've got this beautiful third eye channel. So if you can still your mind, calm your mind, you've literally got this channel to the divine to understand inspiration. And you've also got an open root, which while means that you can feel the pressures and the stresses of everybody else, a bit like me, it can also be a good thing because you can then bring that calm to everybody else. You've got an you've got an undefined spleen. So yes, you do have those fear gates that you were talking about before. You've got 3 fear gates. But I've always said that, fears are our friends. The more I've understood, and I've got about 5 fear gates, I think, even with my undefined spleen, is no, when I can bring awareness to what those different gates are, then I can make them my friends. Fears aren't there to stop us or to limit us. They are there to say, do you know what, you're going for something, and I'm really ready to help you with that. So you've got gate 57, the fear of the future. When I understood that I had that one too, it was like, I can never, ever understand or define or even conjure up every single permutation of the future. So why am I worrying about it? Can I trust myself in the moment? Or can I mitigate the big things? Can I listen to what my fear of the future has to say and say, don't worry, I've got you. I'll sort that with this and this and this and this. And then can we just trust that we're going to be okay? Go on.
So does that mean that I'll speak in I terms, I have to get used to living with that feeling of fear.
You all have fears. Everyone's got, who wants to be fearless? We don't want to be fearless. We want to be brave. We want to be courageous. We want to be brave. That brave courage comes with walking with fear.
Yes, but when you've got these gates that say that you have these fears, does that not mean that you feel those fears more than others?
I think you can't compare yourself. It's not about comparing yourself. It's about recognition of the self. These charts are, this is a chart to help you understand yourself, not about comparing yourself and how others do it. It's about understanding that these fears, I like to see them as echoes. They were just echoes of fears that I've had in the past. But if I recognize that they're always going to be with them, then with me, then I can bring them and make friends with them. They're just part of my boardroom. I see them as, it's like, okay, we're about to go and do this. Tell me what you've got. Let me have a look and see what I need to mitigate so that I can help you get on board with me. I often talk about fears being like, in the Flintstones, and you know how Fred and Wilma are in the front and they're running along with their feet,
Yeah,
and then they have a bunch of kids in the back and they're like, where are we going? We don't like where we're going. And they put their heels in the ground and it's like, oh my God, that's resistance. Our fears
yeah.
are just resistance to something that we're doing that we know that we're going to do anyway. If you can then give them kind of like personas and voices and just turn around and say, okay, come on, guys, tell me what you've got. You've got the voice of, fear of the future and survival, the fear that you aren't good enough, and the fear of failure. I have all three. Now I know I've got these guys in my back seat. I can say, right, we're going here. Tell me what you want. What are you worried about? What do I need to mitigate? And this is why we're going. This is where we're going. This is what I want to achieve. This is how I'm supporting you. You don't need to worry. Put your seatbelts on. Are you ready to run? And they're like, oh, yes, we're excited now. And then they'll start to run with me rather than putting their feet in the ground. So your chart is just a way to illuminate what may be holding you back, a way to illuminate where you may have that sticky, wonky, heavy energy to help you alleviate it so that you can move forward with this clear, positive, productive, purposeful, joyful energy going forward. So making fun and friends with my fears in the back is no longer heavy for me. It's just like, oh, hello, you're not, I have the fear that I'm not good enough is one that has echoed all the way through my life and has also been the one that both my mum and sometimes my husband make me feel even more. But I'm like, I just recognize it. Do you know what? And the way I reframe the fear of not feeling good enough, which is ultimately the imposter syndrome, is if I feel I'm not enough, it's like, well, am I giving my best today? Am I giving my best to my clients? Am I giving my best to my kids? Am I giving my best to my community? Am I giving my best to myself? Yes. Then if I'm giving my best, then I'm doing enough. Then the next thing that I will say is, can I trust that I'm always doing my best and therefore I'm always doing enough? Whatever I do is enough. And it's like, yes, I am. Okay, so now my little fear friend of not being enough is okay.
So the gift of human design is making you aware of those different aspects of yourself
Yeah.
so that the shadow side, that is the fear and the frustration and all of those things, are not running your life, but you have a balance.
Yeah. It's going to illuminate what is in the shadows, if you want to call them shadow work. I don't like to call them shadows personally,
Okay. I
because
just used that
shadows,
term because that's what was
yeah,
in the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't use shadows because I think people fear shadows, what's lurking in the shadows. I, I think all of it, everything in my chart, whether it's, I don't like to label it. It's all of it is a gift. I get to see it as a gift of all of it. It's just awareness and illumination of this is this is how my energy works. How can I clear it? How can I improve it? How can I amplify it? How can I be in service? Like a lot of people have said to me, oh my goodness, no, my goodness, I've got an open solar plexus, an open root. I'm going to feel the pressure. It's like, no, we get to use it. Can you shift that perspective? Like I said at the beginning, is the two sides of the coin. There's no right or wrong. There's just the side that you get to choose to see. Are you willing to flip it and see it from the other side?
Yeah.
Your chart doesn't get to have to be heavy. It's just an awareness of how to use it. and how to clear it.
So if these are all aspects of you, then all of those aspects of you serve a purpose. Like you can't always be in the what's the I'm going to have to use the terms from this book because this is what I've
It's
got in my
okay.
head.
I'll see if I can understand.
The gift sort of side of you, or the your optimum self, like if you like your optimum energy or your not self. Um, you can't live in the, or can you live where your predominance is your aligned self? Does that make sense?
I'm not entirely
And
sure what
only
you're asking. Can you always live in alignment? I think you can always choose to live in alignment. I think that life has a way of pulling us out of alignment, and our human design is our compass to help us get back to living in alignment.
yeah, but not being in alignment, because I'm trying to not let people beat themselves up if they're not in alignment and think that they, because that's one of the things I had with this, with law of attraction, was this feeling you'd got something wrong if you got into a state of contrast, or something was going wrong. It's because I did something wrong with my energy, but it's not necessarily wrong to be in a contrast situation or a difficult, challenging situation, because that's part of life. So I didn't want to give the impression that you're doing something wrong if you're not always high and happy in your um oh,
Most in
the
your
word.
signature energy,
Yeah, yeah.
I think, when we flip, how I used it. So if I flip into frustration, it's just recognizing, oh, there's something I need to look at. How can I get back into alignment? How can I get back into that feeling of feeling satisfaction? I think contrast is, I've loved to use contrast as a very, very powerful way to help me decide what I like and what I don't like. Being a generator, I'm here to respond. So contrast is actually for me a really great thing. So, ooh, I don't want that. Good. What do I want then? Rather than if I'm always feeling good, it's like, I don't know. It's, contrast is just a powerful way to help me recognize what I do and I don't want. It's not a bad thing. I have to say, when we're thinking about laws of attraction, laws of manifestation, laws of vibration, I manifested the most beautiful things from the place of deepest, darkest despair and anger and hurt. You don't have to
I
be high
think
vibe
that's
all the
what I'm
time to
getting.
manifest.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was trying to make. Are those experiences there to be catalysts for us to, like you say, manifest those greater things or become more of ourselves? If we were never challenged, would
I
we?
think I think it's how you choose to see it. It's how you choose to, what you make it mean. It's what you decide. So you can either choose to believe that life is happening to you, to stop you, to prevent you, or you can get to say, do you know what? This storm has come to clear my path, not to kill me. You get to see, you get to choose to decide what any experiences is and what you make it mean. You get to decide the truth of what you believe. And it's from the truth of what you believe is what's going to manifest. So, which is why when you try and override your thoughts with affirmations, if you don't truly believe it, it's not going to work.
Okay. So how do you work best with, because you could just be given a chart that says you've got all these fear gates and all these open um centers or whatever, and you could look at that and think, well, I'm toast then. Like, so how do you work with people with their human design charts to kind of have a little bit more of a, empower them more with
But I
it?
think that's exactly what it is. It is about empowerment. I think awareness, knowledge is power, isn't it? And it's just, as I said, it's about bringing awareness to your chart so that you can be mindful of your gifts and be mindful of how your energy can work with you or work against you. That, as I said, there's no right or wrong. Your chart is not there to limit you in any way. It's just some information that you get to choose in the way that you wish to. So whenever I do a human design chart, it's always through the eyes of a positive of how can I use this in order to support me with the life that I want to lead. It doesn't matter whether you're defined or undefined. When people come and ask me, I say, is there anything that you want to work on in particular? Have you got any aspiration or intention in mind, or anything challenging that's causing you some problems? And I will help find in your chart the way and the path for you that's going to feel good to you. So everything is all about how can my human design chart support me? Always, how can it support me? Whether it's a profile line, whether it's an energy type, or whether it is a chakra, how can it support you with what you are trying to get through, where you want to get to? I have had somebody come to me. She said, oh my goodness, my daughter's a line 3-6. That means she's destined for the most horrendous life. And I said, why? She said, well, line 3 is the martyr. She's going to have to go through so much pain and
I'm a
awfulness.
martyr.
Yeah, and I'm a double martyr. I'm a line 3-6. So until I'm 50, I'm a line 3, double, twice. But I got to choose the way I saw it. I read my chart and I said, well, I'm not going to choose it as being a martyr. I'm going to get to choose it to say that I'm an adventurer. I get to go and say that I'm here for trial and error and learn through contrast and experience and enjoy every single part of my life. And if I get it wrong and if I fail and if I don't, then it's just showing me what I don't want, where I don't want to go. And that is a good thing. I don't have to see it as being a martyr. I get to see it as I'm an adventurer. I'm curious. I get to follow my curiosity. And no matter what I find, I either like it or I don't, and then I move on. But I'm gathering wisdom all the time that will then amplify and help me in my line 6, which is to say, I'm here as a role model, not only just to say what I've read in a book, but to say, I've been in the weeds, I've been through hell, and I came out the other side, and I'm here to teach you and talk to you about it. You
So
as a line 3-5, so your line 3 again is about trial and error. Go and try everything, go and adventure, go and gather the wisdom and the evidence from life experience. And your line 5 is a heretic, which is to say, do you know what, I'm going to gather all of this information that I've gathered, and I'm going to bring it to the world in my own unique creative way.
which is what this podcast is all about.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you work with clients, have you ever got past the generator, not generator, the energy
Energy
signature,
type.
um, strategy, and inner authority? Do you get past that? Because it seems like there's so many layers to this. Do you ever get past those layers with anyone?
Yeah, of course. So when I work with
Yeah.
people longer term over, I work with most people 3 to 6 to 12 months, depending on whether they're working privately with me or in my mastermind, we get to uncover all of it. When I just do an individual reading, it's typically, I always say to people, master that energy type first, because that's where I started. It's like, I'm going to focus on my energy type, my authority, staying in alignment with my unique EGS, my emotional guidance system. That's what I'm going to perfect first. And when I've got that, then I'll start to work down through my chart and look at my profile lines. Then I'm going to look at my profile lines and understand how that can support me in my life and in my dreams. And then I'm going to start to work through my chakras and understand how I can use that to support me with my life. And then I'm going to look at my gates and my channels. And then I'm going to look at my arrows. And then I'm going to, and there's always more to uncover. But like I said right at the beginning, it's about how you put that energy in at the top that's going to start to spin those other wheels. But you've got to get that energy that's pure and beautiful at the top. If it's full of mud and weeds, it's going to clog up your energy centers.
Mm.
I think when people start at the bottom and work up with gates, they confuse themselves.
Yeah, I think the language can be a little bit, well, perhaps because I take things so
Literally
and probably to heart as well. Um, Maybe my response is different to what others might be. But yeah, some of that language is, I find some of it a little bit confusing, or a little bit triggering. So being the heretic and the martyr and I was also told that I have a lot of creativity, but I go into a kind of melancholic state before. So I kind of need to ride the wave of that melancholy before I get to the, oh, this is what I'm going to do, before I get to that sort of creativity. It's like, I don't
Well,
want to be melancholy.
it's just all the language, I think. In terms of being melancholy, I would just say again, bring mindfulness to it. And if you're feeling melancholy, then it's you get to choose to focus on the melancholy or the fact that, oh my goodness, what happens after melancholy is that I find that I'm joyful. Hurrah! That means the joyful's coming. You get to decide where you put your focus. Just like the same as when you read it, you take things literally. I would say question it. You've got an open and undefined mind. So go and have a look and just say, well, do I want to believe that? Do I want to believe that that's true about me? Do I? Yes or no? You get to question all of it, like we get to question everything in life. Follow your own curiosity. Is that true? Is that what I want it to be? You don't, that's what I would say for you. Is this like you don't have to, just because it's written in a book or on a page or someone told you, can you trust yourself to know the truth about yourself? Someone's like, yes, you can. What do I want to believe? Is this my thought? Is this my belief? Look, as with your open and undefined centers, it's always that, is that mine? What is my definition? Always go back to that. What is my definition? You said, I want to feel more success. Why can't I be projector? Well, why can't your definition of satisfaction be success? You get to decide what your own
Yeah,
definition
why
of
can't I?
satisfaction is. Why can't you? Your definition of satisfaction could be, I'm winning at life. This feels good. I'm on the right path, aka success. You get to decide it all. It's a feeling of feeling good. Just because human design has put a label on it, you get to decide what it means.
Yeah. Okay. So if we are open, like how, when you've decided what's not yours or where you've absorbed,
Yep.
I would say, because I think it's
Yep.
easy to say that's not mine, not easy, but easier to say that's not mine, I park it or I hand that energy back. Um, but when you've absorbed and you were saying it's like sponges,
Yep.
and how do you squeeze out the sponges?
In the reports that I give a whole list of questions on how you can squeeze that sponge.
Right.
So, just like the one I've just said to you, is that my feeling? Is that my thought? It's just
Okay.
a whole different sense of what am I trying to prove is one with the sacral. Have I had enough? Another one of the sacral. Is this where I want to go for your G center? Is this my truth? My throat?
Mm.
They all have different questions, but it's all about bringing mindfulness, which was my one true modality, and bringing that into human design, just bringing awareness to your energy, and human design being the chart to help you decipher it, kind of almost like carve it down into smaller bite-sized pieces to be more intentional about how you live.
Okay. So can someone come to you just for a human design reading and nothing else?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So I offer that as a service. So it's more about a shorter term package. So when somebody wants me to help them and interpret their human design, what I will ask them for is obviously that key information, where you're born, what time, your date, etc. And if you don't know, then I can also help you work that through. I've worked with quite a few clients. Myself and my husband, we didn't know our times of birth. So there are ways of understanding what that is and to help you create a chart that feels good for you as well. So I'll create your chart and then I will do an interpretation based on how you desire your human design to support you, whether that be in relationships, in your career, in your health, or all of the above, or through a particular challenge. And then based on the interpretation of the report that I do, I then do a video on how you can use it in order to support you through what you're doing. And then I offer integration calls as well. So there's different layers again with the package, but yeah, people can come and work with me absolutely directly. And it's all on my website. I'm sure you'll put it on the show notes as well.
Yeah. I think we need to check that I've still got your all of your correct details since you've had your
Yes.
website updated and everything and your
I'll send
logo
it through.
updated and brand updated.
All updated. I know, it's lovely.
So good, good, good. Anything that we didn't cover, because I know that there's loads we haven't covered because it's such a massive topic. But is there anything that you wanted to say to the audience or get across to the audience about human design that hasn't been covered?
I think I'll just re-emphasize there's no right or wrong human design. There's no chart that's better than anybody else's. It's just a level of awareness for yourself to help you understand how you can feel good. It's all about feeling good, about feeling purposeful, about feeling joy. It's just another way to help you understand yourself more, whether you need to build your self-esteem, whether you need to give yourself a confidence boost to understand your purpose. People come to me with so many different requirements when it comes to their human design, and it can be just the most powerful map chart to help you navigate this life or whatever challenge you're going through.
Thank you, Ali, for
My pleasure.
another enthralling
I
conversation.
love your questions. You pushed me to the end, and
Yeah,
it helps
but
me
what about
clarify.
this? What about that?
What about that? I love it. I love your cynicism because it helps me. It almost makes me feel even more convicted in what I want to say.
Yeah,
And my belief.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Again, people, please do like, share, and subscribe. And it would really be helpful if some of you could comment as well, like, have you had your human design chart done? What do you think about this episode? Do you want to get in touch with Ali and find out more about it and get your chart done? So there's so much in it. It's such a deep modality that covers so many different sort of modalities within it, I think.
Yes. That's right.
So yeah, I think we will leave it there because it's so deep, but we could probably, depending on how this goes down, if we wanted to focus in on maybe
A specific type
or something like that, we could do that in another.
Yeah. Depending on your questions. More than happy to come back based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Thank you so much. Don't go away, Ali.
Thanks for having me.
We'll say our goodbyes off camera, but thank you for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Hello.